Before we begin, I have a question for you. Yes, you. What would you do if saving a life meant breaking a sacred rule? Would you obey, or would you act? Because sometimes, the line between faith and humanity is thinner than we think.
The sun hung mercilessly over the town square, pouring heat onto the cracked pavement like molten glass. It was the middle of the fasting season, a sacred time observed with discipline, devotion, and silence. Even the wind seemed to move more slowly, as though honoring the restraint of the people below. Vendors sat quietly behind their stalls, their goods untouched. Children who would normally be running and shouting instead lingered in the shade of tall buildings. Conversations were softer, movements slower. Hunger was endured. Thirst was endured. It was, they believed, a test of faith. Amina adjusted the scarf around her head as she crossed the square, a small reusable water bottle in her bag. She wasn't fasting that day. A lingering medical condition meant she was exempt, though she rarely spoke about it. Some exemptions, she had learned, were easier to practice privately. As she passed near the old fountain, long, dry and decorative, she noticed a small crowd forming. At first, she thought it might be an argument. But then she heard it. A sharp, strained cough. Then another. The sound wasn't ordinary. It was violent, desperate, the kind that clawed at the air. Amina quickened her pace. In the center of the circle stood a woman in her late 40s, clutching her throat. Her name, Amina would later learn, was Sophia. Her face was flushed deep red, her eyes wide with panic. Each breath she tried to draw sounded like it was scraping against stone. "It's just dryness," someone murmured nervously. "She'll be fine. Take slow breaths, sister." But Sophia wasn't fine. Her coughing worsened. Her body bent forward as if gravity itself were trying to force the air out of her. She gasped, not dramatically, not theatrically, but in a raw, animal way that made Amina's stomach twist. "She needs water," Amina said immediately, pushing gently through the circle. Several heads turned toward her. "We're fasting," an older man replied calmly, though his eyes betrayed uncertainty. "Yes," another woman added, "we cannot break the fast before sunset." Sophia's coughing grew harsher. She staggered. Amina dropped her bag to the ground and pulled out the water bottle. "She can't breathe properly," Amina insisted. "She needs water." A younger man stepped forward, shaking his head. "If she drinks, she breaks the fast." Sophia tried to speak but dissolved into another fit of coughing. "Help her sit," Amina urged. Two women supported Sophia under her arms, lowering her carefully to the pavement. Her hands trembled violently now. "She has been fasting every day," someone whispered. "She wouldn't want to ruin it." Amina knelt in front of Sophia. Their eyes met for half a second, long enough for Amina to see the fear. This was no small discomfort. This was distress. "She needs water," Amina repeated, more firmly now. "It is against the rules," the older man said, though his voice had lost its certainty. "Against which rules?" Amina shot back. "The rule that values devotion. Or the rule that values life." There was silence. Sophia's breathing hitched sharply. A dry, rasping sound escaped her throat. "She could choke," Amina said quietly. "Or faint. Or worse." A murmur passed through the crowd. "But fasting is sacred," someone insisted. "And so is life," Amina replied. The heat felt heavier now, pressing down on all of them. Sweat glistened on foreheads. The sacredness of the moment was colliding with something primal and undeniable. Sophia's head tilted back slightly. Her eyelids fluttered. That was enough. Without waiting for permission, Amina unscrewed the bottle cap. "I am sorry," she whispered, though she wasn't sure to whom she was apologizing, and gently held the bottle to Sophia's lips. For a brief second, no one moved. Then Sophia swallowed. The first sip was small, almost reflexive. The second was desperate. The water slid down her throat, and she coughed once more, but this time it was different. Looser. Less violent. A third sip, then another. Gradually, the harsh rasping softened. The tightness in her face eased. Her shoulders lowered. Air entered her lungs more smoothly. The square remained silent except for the faint sound of water shifting inside the bottle. After a moment, Sophia raised a trembling hand and pushed the bottle away. Her breathing, though still uneven, had steadied. Tears streamed down her cheeks, not from pain now, but from relief. She managed softly, "I could not breathe." The older man stepped closer. His face had gone pale. "We were trying to help," he said defensively, but the words felt hollow even to him. Amina capped the bottle and placed it aside. "Help should never wait for permission from fear," she replied. A long silence followed. Then, unexpectedly, Sophia spoke again. My father, she said slowly, once told me something similar. The crowd leaned in. He said faith was not meant to suffocate us. It was meant to protect us. The younger man who had objected earlier lowered his eyes. But the fast, he began weakly, can be made up another day, Sophia finished gently. Life cannot. The words settled into the air like dust after a storm. A woman from the back of the crowd wiped her eyes. We were afraid of breaking the rule. And almost broke something far more important, Amina said softly. The call to prayer echoed faintly from a nearby mosque, its melodic sound weaving through the square. It reminded everyone of devotion, discipline, humility, and mercy. Sophia allowed the two women to help her stand. Her strength was returning. She turned to Amina. Thank you, she said with deep sincerity. Amina smiled faintly. Anyone would have done the same. But they both knew that wasn't entirely true. The older man cleared his throat. We forgot something today, he admitted. Compassion is not separate from faith. No, Sophia agreed. It is its heart. One by one, the crowd dispersed. The square returned to its quiet rhythm. Yet something had shifted. Not visibly, but internally. A line had been redrawn. Amina picked up her bag. As she began to walk away, she overheard two young girls whispering nearby. Was it wrong that she drank? The other shook her head slowly. No, she said thoughtfully. It would have been wrong if she hadn't. The sun continued its descent toward the horizon, indifferent yet constant. Shadows stretched longer across the pavement. Sophia remained seated on a nearby bench, breathing steadily now. She looked at the sky and closed her eyes briefly, not in shame, but in gratitude. For breath, for wisdom, for courage. When sunset finally came, and the fast was formally broken, the first sip taken by many in the square felt different. It was no longer just ritual. It was remembrance. Remembrance of the moment when a rule nearly overshadowed humanity. And the moment humanity prevailed. No rule should be so rigid as to compromise human life. Life is precious and should be protected, at all cost. In the end, no rule should ever be so rigid as to cost a human life. Remember that a little act of kindness can change everything. I mean everything. Thank you for watching. Let us know what you think about the video in the comments section and don't forget to hit that like button, share and subscribe.